It's Sunday, 26th of October 25. Here's my agenda for tonight, and at the same time, I'm going to cook these. So it's tea time chat. Yeah, cooking chicken breast strips from Asda. I'm putting this thing from Home Bargains in that I cut myself to so that the fat doesn't drip down or whatever, you know. And I can put that in the dishwasher. You've got to be careful though, because if you put something light in there, the fan can bring that whole thing right up, because the fan's so powerful, so you need to be careful of that. If you're just putting light stuff in, and here I'm spraying it with some air fryer oil, high heat oil. This is groundbreaking for me, you know. I have seen Gordon Ramsay does this to everything he cooks in a frying pan, you know, but it hadn't occurred to me. But it means that the stuff doesn't stick, because I thought the stuff was non-stick anyway, but stuff seems to stick to it, but you know. I'm going to preheat it as well. This is another thing which might be revolutionary for me. Okay, let's see what we'll do. Yeah, that'll do for just now. I'm not going to go 5 minutes because air fryers go so quick, so won't even need that. Alright guys, on to my first thing. In the UK the clock goes back on, well, yesterday, late October till I think it's back 1 hour till around about early March, I don't know. But is it even a sensible thing to do now? I don't think it is. I was just looking Google Gemini on this. You know, we know this started during the First World War, I think it was, and it was to make more use of daylight, because at that time we didn't have a lot of artificial light and stuff, you know, from light bulbs and stuff. So it was to make use of natural daylight. Whereas now that doesn't count at all, you know, because we've got artificial light. So really, to me, it shouldn't happen at all. It's one of these things that I think in a democracy, a party democracy, it never gets made, because like, here's what I'm saying. See what I'm saying? I've made a mistake here. Yeah, it's pretty dangerous, that. Plus my oil seems to have dried up, you know. I don't know. I hope there's some still there. Yeah, here we go guys. I'm just going to cook this at a low heat. I may put a few bit of sprays in them, like. I wonder what actual oil this is. What is it? Let's see. It's a blend of high oleic sunflower and refined avocado oils. Yeah, so I learnt a lesson there. My preheat thing in an air fryer with that bit of thing in it can be dangerous. I'm just going to cook it low. I don't know. I just wanted to defrost it really, more than anything. Anyway, I was looking at Google Gemini on this, you know, the clock going back. It doesn't make any sense. Why don't we have a referendum on it, you know? Keir Starmer could do that now, and then people would say, oh, he's quite democratic, let us have a referendum on it. David Cameron let us have 3 referendums, but only because he thought he would win all of them easily. He won the first one easily, on proportional representation, the least democratic type of it. And then in the Scottish referendum, he almost lost it. And then in Brexit, he did lose it. Only just, but he still lost it. And he resigned because of it. Why don't we have a referendum on should the clock go back? I mean, it's quite a neutral thing, you know. It's not going to get people out in the streets rioting or anything, you know, one way or the other. But it's something of interest to everyone. I mean, personally, I think we should be like Switzerland anyway and have referendums all the time on issues. You know, quarterly referendums, petition referendums. If you look up the Swiss electoral system, you'll see what I mean. But yeah, the other things they say is that it gives you an extra hour in the morning of daylight, especially in the north of Scotland. But I mean, because we've got artificial light, it doesn't really count now. But anyway, compared to the First World War, you know. But yeah, because maybe even they done it then, maybe even they didn't put lights on during the thing, you know, it would have probably been gaslight then, or whatever. But yeah, because so that in the morning with the workers and then the school pupils, they'll have an extra hour of thingy. But Google Gemini was saying that there's probably more accidents at night, even if the daylight isn't a concern. You know, because when you think it, the morning's slightly more staggered in a way, whereas the night, it might be more, you know, there's rush hours, it's more compact in the evening. So personally, I think we should have some British summertime the whole year round. It gives us an extra hour of daylight at night when people can actually use it, really. So yeah, that's my opinion. So that's number one. Now on to number two. And it looks like Reform are currently around about 16% in Scotland, and they would get 22 seats according to stats for lefties. I can't remember what pollster they were using though. I mean, I think Find Out Now had Reform in 23%, depending on what you're taking it from, because it's quite confusing, the Scottish electoral system. You've got your first past the post one, you get 2 votes, your first past the post one, and for a regional MP as well, and the regional one's proportional representation, which I prefer. I would do away with the first past the post one really, but so they're saying around about 16%, same as Labour at the moment actually. So Reform are really on the rise in Scotland. We know in Wales they're probably leading really, in a way. So I think the same is going to happen in Scotland eventually. We're going to be a bit slower than the Welsh, but yeah. So to me that's a good sign, because I see Reform as the people you vote for on a single issue at the moment as a protest vote, as a referendum vote on it. So that's the way I see it. On to issue number 3, and it's the Irish president was elected yesterday, and that's just a symbolic thing. It's a bit like the royal family in Britain, except to get elected. But what I find interesting, of great interest to me, is 12% of the votes were spoilt, and people wrote on them why they spoilt them, things like that. And that was 200,000 votes. I think it was more than that, like 234,000 or something. So I think that's really interesting, because apparently there was a campaign to say spoil your vote, because they weren't happy with the choice, and they're quite right, because the way it happens over there is the candidates for an Irish president, they've got to be chosen by a certain amount of MPs, members of parliament or whatever, and also or by county councils representatives, you know. So the whole thing's sort of rigged. You get 3 candidates, the people who spoiled the vote weren't happy about it. Yeah, so in that situation, what I would say is spoil your vote. Don't abstain, because they're not bothered, and people who don't vote, that doesn't matter to them. But if you spoil your vote, you're actively saying you're not voting for anyone, you want the system changed. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. I mean, the winner got about 63%. I don't know how many didn't vote, maybe about 40% or something, I don't know. But yeah, because if you look at Keir Starmer last year, he got less votes than Jeremy Corbyn in 2019, which Keir Starmer calls the low point for Labour, 2019. He got less, but because hardly anyone turned out, he only got 35% of those that turned out, only 59% turned out. I think it was the lowest since the war, World War II. But Keir Starmer doesn't care, because he got 2/3 of the MPs, and he was telling you that it was a total, total victory, and they were totally validated by the electorate, which they weren't at all, you know. So I think that's why he's having so much trouble now. Yeah, because he's totally undemocratic, because he's totally in favour of the current system. If he was a real Democrat, he'd say we're going to switch to proportional representation, like they're about to do in the Welsh Senate. I don't know why Labour are doing that there. Maybe it's because they know the Reform are going to win easily. I'm not sure. I'll need to check up on that. Yeah, so it's very important in democracies. If you don't want to vote for anyone, definitely vote, but spoil your vote. And you can even write why you spoil your vote, you know. You don't, no candidate appeals to you or a certain issue. I would say that's important now in the West, really. So that's that. That's number 3. Yeah, number 4, and I'm a big fan of the Swiss electoral system, and this digital ID thing, the sensible thing to do would be to have a referendum. I mean, David Cameron done it 3 times, although after the third one he lost it and he resigned. But digital ID, you don't need to resign if you lose that, you can just, because this is the way it should be, Prime Minister should be able to say, I think digital ID is a good idea, but I don't know how the public feel about it. Let's have a referendum, Then if you lose it, or you don't have to resign because you lost it, So yeah, that's what I would do about the digital ID thing, As I say, for me the digital ID, if it was just basic, because nowadays you need really a passport or a photo ID, mainly a driving licence, to even open a bank account. And if you don't have that, you might need your birth certificate, which a lot of poor people won't have, or whatever reason. So really, opening a bank account can be really difficult for people who haven't got a passport or a driving licence with a photo ID. I mean, you would literally probably you need to go to one of these places and get maybe a council photo ID or something. I think, that's a joke. So digital ID would solve that. So in that way, I think, but I think the government are going to use it in the wrong way as well, to spy on you, maybe where you're moving about, because you remember this will be on your phone as well. So I don't trust the government with it. I do a basic digital ID. I would prefer a paper ID, or like a passport, something like that. Yeah, maybe something like that. So that's that issue, okay? And then the final issue, I forgot, I've got this is at 180 and it's too high. But it'll still be quite nice. Yeah. Final issue. Swiss toilets. Are you not allowed to flush your toilet in Switzerland after 10 o'clock? Well, it turns out that's a myth. Yeah, it's a myth, but they do have a rule, maybe it was from a referendum, where you have to be quiet. You have to not to do any excessive noise between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. And in some of the flats, older flats, the people that owned them, I don't know if it's council there or private housing, they used to write notes and not what to do, and they would say, please don't flush the toilets after 10 o'clock unless you really need to, because all you need to do, if you're just urinating, you can put a bit of bleach down, I suppose. But yeah, these sort of things are annoying. And say flats, poorly built flats that don't have sound insulation. I think sound insulation is a really ignored thing by the councils and government, and I would really, if I was Prime Minister, I'd make it a big thing, because noisy neighbours can make your life really miserable, and everyone should be able to, if something really terrible was going on in the adjoining house, you should be blissfully unaware of it, because you don't hear anything, But at the moment you hear everything, you hear people urinating or anything, So I'm totally in favour. Well, no, so I'm saying the flushing toilet things, but really, we need good sound insulation in houses. At the moment, councils and governments ignore it, So, yeah, that's my points for today, the 26th of October 25. I hope that was very informative. Goodbye. Yeah, it's alright, even the bump bits.